Transfer portal's big, right? You get a one-time freebie. There are a record number of kids in the portal. Doesn't look like it's going to go anywhere unless some future rules come down from the NCAA, but that doesn't appear imminent, certainly not this year or in the next year or two. So this is what it is right now. Jermayne Lole of Arizona State has one of the strangest transfer portal recruitments that I can remember. Now, you've studied this a lot more than me, John, so you can, if you've got a more peculiar story than this, by all means, throw it out there. But he's in the transfer portal after injuring his triceps and not playing in 2021. He's an all Pac-12 caliber player. He's an NFL draft caliber player. In 2020, PFF had him graded as the second highest interior defensive lineman in the country behind a guy from Ohio State. So this is a big time player, right? He goes into the transfer portal, and this is what makes it so weird. He has said very clearly, and the reports have all indicated and backed this up, that he wants to come back to Arizona State, but he's going to test the waters anyway. And his schools are Texas Tech, Florida, Louisville, and Oregon. I'm going to take a stab and say that's the first time those four schools have been mentioned on the football field in the same sentence. How does that even come about? Texas Tech, Florida, Louisville, and Oregon. You're covering a good swath of the country there, but John, what do you make of all of that?
Yeah, it's almost like restricted free agency in pro ball, right? Where you're like, I like this team, I know this team, but I do want to see what kind of value I have elsewhere before I make a final decision. And then you start to get into the teams, and you're like, wow, this kid from Long Beach Poly in California is not looking at any California schools, but looking all over the country, quite literally, and then doing this like Nike check of an official visit swing throughout America on consecutive weekends, no less. So he announced he'll go to Louisville on the 13th, Florida May 20th, then down to Texas Tech May 27th to see that new coaching staff, and then all the way up to Eugene for the Duck visit to wrap it up the first weekend of June. Just a bizarre list of schools there, but you can see the timeline here, right? The visits tell us a lot in high school and transfer portal recruiting. 4 official visits in 4 consecutive weekends. We'll see how he feels at the Oregon trip, after all those flights, 8 flights later, how he feels about that Oregon official visit being the last one. And then presumably he'll go back to his college campus that he's still at ASU and check them out one more time. I don't think he'll need an official visit for it, but we'll get that all before a final decision, what looks like in early to mid-June. From, like you said, an NFL draft pick candidate, prospect, I should say, that it's really rare for him to be available, a player like this to be available this late in the process. And you see 3 transition coaching staffs on top of that. So we talked about this at the top, right? When you're a transition coaching staff and you're rebuilding, hit the trenches, and you see Oregon, Florida, and Texas Tech understanding that and trying to bring in an all conference type prospect on top of it, a guy who started 28 games in the Pac-12 with plenty of success to date. So a fascinating visit schedule, an ambitious visit schedule, I must say, because remember, you're flying back home in between. So he's either flying back to Phoenix or Tempe, or he's flying back to his native Southern California. So this is a lot of frequent flyer miles that he's going to be racking up. So if I'm Louisville and I got that first visit, I feel great. Oregon, not so much with the 4th trip, but you never know. You never know. Those are 4 very different campuses. I've been to 3 of them, and I think he'll get quite a unique experience, one versus the other. But this is a big deal. This is one of the biggest transfers still in the portal yet to make that final decision, and for him to lay it out that way, I think will be fun to track, and a lot for him for these next few months, because this is really just a rental, right? I mean, this is a guy who's close to the NFL draft. He just needs to show that he's healthy and have a bounce back senior season in 2022. So you're talking about a rental from June to December, not even really a full year on a college campus. So he's certainly going to put in the work and the due diligence to figure out where he wants to play. There's no doubt.
Florida, Texas Tech, Oregon, Louisville. I liked your little slight flex there that you've been to 3 of them, John. I
like. And you can guess the one I haven't been to, right?
Oregon.
No, Texas Tech. Texas
Oh,
Tech.
really? I've been on Texas Tech's
Hard,
campus.
hard to get to Lubbock.
Yeah. I was there to call the NJCAA women's basketball tournament in 2021. So that was why I was in Lubbock, because believe it or not, I haven't had a reason to go there yet. But maybe one day. Last thing that I want to ask you here. You mentioned he's a Southern California kid, right? And I have read or heard on the grapevine, so to speak, that USC has been interested in him, or they've at least, made a call or expressed that they would want him. And, knowing that USC needs to rebuild in the trenches, and that UCLA is always looking for defensive help. And even if this is a one-year guy, he's going to be a high-impact transfer, whichever program he ends up going to. So is there any indication that one of those California schools could make it onto the list? I mean, how are they getting left out of a guy who's from that area, who's so supremely talented?
Yeah, I'm just as surprised as you, Spencer. And I think schematically, he's not the biggest guy in the world, 6'2", 6'3", maybe 280. So, I'm not sure what the new defenses will look like at these two schools relative to what they want on the defensive interior. But man, you have to think that when you're making the transition, you want to hit the trenches. And like I said, he's a SoCal kid. So I'm surprised. But look, he's got 4 visits planned. So he does have room for a 5th visit. So, maybe that's the next phone call that's going to happen. And it'll be something we talk about the next time I'm lucky enough to be on with you, my friend.
Well, we will be sure to bring you back. John Garcia Jr., he is the director of recruiting for Sports Illustrated. We appreciate your insight as always, my man, and we will see you next time for sure. There will always be a next time with you.
Appreciate it. Looking forward to it.
I appreciate everyone listening. I will see you next time, and have a wonderful rest of your day.